Hello and welcome to episode number 7 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm Jim.
And today we're going to be talking about why you should support your local game store. All right, let's get into it. Let's go. Very special day. Today.
What's today, Dan?
Today, Jim.
Yeah?
Today's your birthday.
Aw.
Happy birthday, Jimbo.
Oh, guys, you shouldn't have.
So I did. I got to confess, I did get Jim a birthday present today.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and it's
that card was hilarious, though.
Yeah. You got to tell everybody what the card said.
So the card was roughly along the lines of some. All right, Dan, I forgot.
Here,
I need it in front of me.
You do need it in front of you. So my wife actually sent me a picture of it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up here real quick.
All right, here we go.
Because
Do you want me to read it, or you want to read it?
Why don't you read it?
All right, I'll read it.
So the front. Here's the front.
Another birthday? Question mark. I gotta hand it to you. ... Because God knows you're too old to bend over and pick it up yourself.
And we both had to do a double take.
Yeah, it took me a second because it's like, I got to hand it to you because you just can't get it.
Because you can't bend over and get it.
Yeah.
So it's funny because Jim has a terrible back and honestly can't bend over.
Yeah. It's pretty rough.
It's kind of an inside joke, but it's not. But
and aside from that,
funny.
Dan, all right, it's not my fault. You have a fridge that's made for small persons.
You're just a giant of a man. What are you talking about?
I couldn't get my pizza from the oven either.
You mean sorry that my fridge is built for normal-sized people?
Yeah, Dan, that's okay.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry and you're welcome, I think.
Yeah, thanks.
Anyway, happy birthday, Jim.
Thank you.
Hope you had a wonderful day today, and
it was good.
And we are going to finish off the day with an episode of our podcast.
With recording.
So, all right. So with that, I don't want to say out of the way, but it's the only thing I can say, because when you say out of the way, it makes it seem like, man, I didn't want to talk about that, but I did. I did want to.
The next thing that we're going to talk about.
So today's topic is an important one, I think, especially in this space, right? And that is why you should support your local game store. First of all, Jim, what is your local game store?
Mine specifically?
No, not yours specifically, but what is someone's? Like, how would you? As with everything, you know me. I always go to, let's define the terms.
Yeah.
So let's define the terms of your local game store. Like,
right.
what is a local game store?
So, a store that's nearby to you that has games of, whether it's board games or card games, they're all pretty much different. Some will specialize in one thing over the other. Some stores will have a community that doesn't really play a specific game, but then a different one will. But you might have to go a little bit further out of the way for that store, depending on what game you want to play.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much a store that has a bunch of board games or tabletop games.
Yeah. So honest question here.
Mm-hmm.
Would GameStop be considered a local game store?
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, technically, right?
Yes.
I mean, technically, GameStop is a local game store. It sells games.
Yeah.
And it's definitely local.
And I think they just recently started getting into board games a little bit.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot, but still a good amount.
Not that long ago, I went into the GameStop in our area, and they were selling Magic cards.
Yeah, that was the day we grouped up, I thought.
No.
Was it different
before
day?
that. It was before that. Yeah, it was before that.
Yeah.
I went in there and I was like, oh, you guys sell Magic cards?
They got some good stuff there too.
Right.
Sometimes you never know.
Like I never saw that before. But I mean, Who knows what GameStop's doing?
But you don't really get to play there.
No, you definitely don't.
Even before all the row.
Yeah, GameStop is strictly a products store. Like it's 100% retail.
Man, it would be so much better if you could actually play games there.
Well, I mean, they do it for, you mean board games or video games or just, everything?
I guess just games in general, but I know that they have the demos.
Yeah, they've got the demos. So that's like it. I mean, remember when I was a kid, I'd remember going into like Kmart and Walmart and go in the electronics stores and then like look up at the, and then my neck would hurt because I'd be looking up for so long.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's the same. Like GameStop still has those demos and those setups.
Yeah, true.
But when we say local game store, we're not meaning stores like GameStop.
Yep.
We are specifically talking about stores which more cater to board games, tabletop games, role playing games.
Yep.
And again, when all that essentially can be boiled down to the tabletop game space. So those are the type of stores that we are that we're talking about. Okay, so today we're going to go over a few reasons of why we think it's important that you support your local game store. Okay, most of these local game stores are small businesses, right? And honestly, a lot of them depend on their local communities to survive. Not only survive, but thrive. Right?
Are there any LGSs that aren't small businesses? Pretty much.
Well, I mean, yes.
Oh, I guess
like the ones that franchise.
Yeah, I guess Goat is Gaming Goat is a franchise.
I mean, that is a franchise.
True.
Yeah. So there are others. Like I've only been in this industry space, and when I say industry space, I just mean like I've really gotten involved into the hobby.
Yeah.
So that the hobby space for a few years. I guess it's been 4 years, maybe 4 or 5 years ish. So I'm not as familiar with the industry space as I'd like to be. I mean, I'm getting more and more familiar each and every day, obviously. But yeah, there are places like Gaming Goat that are that are franchises. So they franchise out locations.
Okay.
So that's the one big one that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So they definitely exist. I don't know how many more there are out there. That'd be a very interesting thing to look into. But other than that, I would think that the majority are small businesses. I mean, at least in our area, the ones that I've been to and am familiar with, I think the majority of those are small businesses.
Right.
So, I mean, that's not to say you should or should not support one or the other because one's a small business or one's a franchise.
Yeah.
Like, we're not suggesting that at all.
If it's franchise, like those people who are still owning it, that specific store,
they're
like for them, it's not the exact same as the people who own the actual franchise, as a whole.
Right. I mean, franchises are still considered small businesses, I think.
Okay.
I mean, again, defining our terms, we'd have to actually define what we would consider a small business.
Yeah, I just don't know at what point does it become not a small business.
Yeah, right.
So.
Right. And I'm sure a lot of that would be subjective as opposed to objective.
Right.
And I'm sure you could set some arbitrary objective rules as to what you would constitute a small business or not. But in any case,
once your business has to start paying health care, you are no longer a small business.
Probably. I'm sure there would be people who would suggest that. Yeah. Well, but I mean, again, those are debates that I'm sure people have on a day-to-day basis.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, sure. So anyway, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. So the first thing that if you have listened to this podcast for any length of time, this will not surprise you. Okay, why you should support your local game store, which is colloquially, I don't know, how do you say it? Colloquially, dude, I cannot say. I can spell it. But anyway, it's LGS. It's your LGS.
Yeah.
If you I'm sure you've heard that acronym thrown around. It's LGS, stands for Local Game Store.
Yeah. Let's not talk about the other one.
No, I'm going to talk about it because I got so confused. But people say it.
All right. Okay.
Like I saw it on Twitter, I think is where I saw it. FLGS. I'm like, what in the world Like, and it
Effing
wasn't
local game store.
it wasn't in the context of LGS.
Dude, I went to my effing LGS the other day and I got raffle stomped. Okay.
No, but I seriously, I think the first time I saw it was Twitter. I'm like, what in the world is FLGS?
Yeah.
And then they wrote it out, friendly local game store. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
who in the world calls it that?
I don't know. I don't know.
So anyway, it's
Spider-Man?
It's apparently it's a thing. Your friendly local
Your friendly neighborhood game store.
No, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man at your friendly local game store.
Oh my god. Friendship is magic, apparently.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a thing. But we don't really say that. We say LGS. It's just LGS. But anyway, apparently it's a thing.
Yeah.
So the number one thing why we think you should support your LGS is it provides a sense of community. We are all about community. Everything that we are doing in Hobbies and Happiness is all about the community.
Yep.
So number one, that is the biggest reason we think you should support your LGS. Whatever that LGS is, that is why. The number one thing is because hopefully the sense of community that LGS provides.
Yep.
Okay. Grapple Games was fantastic from the standpoint of the community that was cultivated there.
Yep.
Now, I think, and we've kind of talked about this before, Jim, but we think that the community that was cultivated there kind of didn't have anything to do with the store or management. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, 100%.
Kind of.
What do you mean? So what do you mean kind of?
So
What do you
it's
mean?
hard to say. I think we've talked about this in the past of when Grapple changed its rules for Magic in terms of prizing.
Okay.
So we went from the normal, like first and second place, sometimes third place, we'll get the packs, to where if you win a game, you get a pack. And if you go 3-0, so you win 3 games, then you get 5 packs. So it went from a more competitive thing to a more casual thing. So where it's like, all right, well, I don't need to win all my games.
Right.
So I'm not going to take it as competitive.
So what was it before? So what we're talking about right now is Friday Night Magic was an event that happened every Friday where the Magic players would come out. They'd pay money for this event, and if you got a certain amount of wins, you got packs.
Yes.
Okay. So what was the I guess the prizing? How did the prizing work before? You said it was more competitive, right?
Yeah. So it was based off of how many people showed up. So in the new way to do it, it was if you went 3-0, you got 5 packs. In the old way, it wasn't even 3 rounds. It was 4 rounds, could be more, depending on how many people there were and if there was any tiebreakers that needed to happen.
Okay.
So then first place could have gotten like 7, 8, 9 packs rather than the cap of 5. So it changed it up a little bit more from people like, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to get 9 packs tonight. Well, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to either find a new place or just have more fun with it. And rather than just going all out, putting a whole lot of money into it, taking it as competitive as possible, just having fun.
Right. Now, obviously, when you're talking about any kind of tournament setup, because that's basically what this was.
Yeah.
It was a mini tournament. So obviously, when you're talking about this type of setup and money's involved, as a business owner, you have to take into account what money that your customers are putting in, like what they're paying into it, and then what they're getting out. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, you don't want to be losing money in those situations. Which I mean, from a purely business and economic standpoint, makes complete and perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you do have to balance like what your customers are paying into and then what you're giving them as far as prizes go, because I mean, as far as an event goes, you don't want to be losing money, and you don't want it to be a wash. I mean, you want to be making money. So you have to figure out how can you balance making money off of the event and giving your player base, giving them an incentive to buy into the tournament so that they have a decent prize support.
Right.
So I mean, that is I guess it's a sticky situation that, owners can find themselves in. And so that's understood. But you run into trouble, I think, as an owner when you are too focused on one or the other. Like if you're too focused on your customers, that seems like a really good thing, but you could be out of business real quick if all you think about is how can I best serve. And I'm saying this like it's a bad thing, but it's definitely not. Like when you're too focused on how you can best serve your customer. I mean, obviously you want to do that 100%. But the challenge is balancing that with monetization and making money, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely a sticking point that can be for sure. But what you were saying was they went from a more competitive model to a more casual model.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know? So I guess let me just ask this then. So when that change was made, was that good or bad for the store?
I don't necessarily know because at that point I wasn't working there.
Okay.
And I wasn't even like that much into Magic at that point.
Okay.
Because this was probably, I'd say, less than a year from when I started playing Magic.
Okay.
And so yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but I do remember a lot of the people that were there would just trickle in, showing up every now and then until it was just like very rarely. Like you'd see them maybe 3 times a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it got really low for a lot of the people that were there previously.
Oh, so this was before they changed it. That was before the change.
Yeah, so the people that were there before the change, a lot of them stopped showing up because, or just very rarely came in for like pre-releases, things along those lines, get a few cards, say hi to friends, And so, yeah, they just wouldn't show up anymore because they were like, well, I want to put more into it and I'm not getting the prize pool that I was getting previously.
Well, you mentioned that too. So one thing that I think we would be remiss in not mentioning is we say they provide a sense of community, okay? But in doing that, what you have to also talk about is why are these people coming to your store?
Yeah.
Like, what is it about the community that is making these people come back? Are they coming back because of the other people that they've met? Or are they coming back because, like we just talked about, the prize support is good for this game that they play? What is it about the community or the store that is getting them to come back? As an owner, you have to be cognizant of what your customers are doing and understand why people are coming and why people are not coming and fix that. And either fix it or capitalize on it, right?
Yeah.
If you see something that's good, capitalize on it. If you see something that's bad, you have to fix it and change something. Right. So I guess that's kind of like a double-edged sword when we talk about community is, you're providing that community, but what is it about the community that is so good for your customers?
Yeah. And it's also like, again, what are they looking for?
Right. You have to serve your customers.
Yeah.
So you can view, again, talking about community, right? You can view, I think, the people that walk into your store in one of two ways. They are, and there's definitely nuance that goes into this for sure, but they're either your customer or they're part of your community, right?
I guess.
But there is nuance.
You're saying for people who just walk in?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. If you own a shop, if you own a local game store, okay, if you're sitting behind the counter, the moment someone walks into your store, you're either going to look at them and view them as a customer or as a member of your community, okay? So, and I think that goes into like how you treat them. Like it can go into how you treat them.
Yeah.
Right. So like, are you going to view them as like a money pouch and you just want to get as much money as you can out of them? And there are definitely people who do that. Like,
for sure.
Like there are definitely owners and business owners in general who do that.
They're like, oh, I've never really seen this person here before. They probably won't show up again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So I'm just saying business owners in general. Like, you know what I mean? Like anyone who owns a store, they just be like, oh, hey, how can I sell you all of these things? Which again, that's what you need to be doing as a salesman. Like you're basically a salesman, right? As an owner, as a business owner. Sure. I mean, of course.
You work in retail.
Right. On some level, there has to be, in my opinion and in my view, there has to be some other level of connection that you have with your customers that changes them in your mind from a customer to a member of the community.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. So I mean that kind of all goes to the mentality of the owner, of the people running the shop, and then also of everyone else who's in there, opening their arms, quote unquote, and getting all these people to come in and enjoy these games.
Yeah, because it also depends on like, all right, if they show up once, like most likely they're just a customer.
Yeah,
but then they show up again. They show up a few times. They come in for tournaments. They're more hanging out with people. Right. It's not just an over the night thing to where you can even swap from a customer to part of the community or part of whatever it is.
Yeah, and
because you have to be like showing up pretty regularly.
Right, but then the rub, even for those people who just come in once, you as a business owner, you have to figure out, how can I get them to come back again? Why are you coming here now? Are you coming to buy this board game as a gift for someone?
Yeah.
Okay, if you are, let's assume that's yes. How can I get you to come back again?
Yeah.
And then how can I get you to come back again? And then after that, right? You have to turn your customers. So number one, I think it's a viewpoint of I'm either viewing you as a customer or as a member of the community, right? But then the second thing after that is, okay, if you are just a customer, like I view as something more than a customer, right? But if you, the individual, if you're walking into the store, if you view yourself only as a customer, how can I, the owner, turn you into a repeat customer? And then how can I turn you from a repeat customer into a member of the community?
Right.
I mean, that's the rub.
It's pretty easy when you have events going on for a specific thing. But aside from that,
But what if that customer doesn't want to be a part of those events? Like they're buying gifts, for example, right? So that is where I think, like, that's the opportunity. That is the opportunity. Now, obviously, I think the majority of the customers are going to be repeat customers and people who want to be involved in a community like this. But what I think you have to do is then basically turn that on its side and be like, well, we want everybody to be part of this community. Right. And that is more like a local, very much a local thing. Right. But then you have to say, okay, well, we have this local community. Let's figure out, how can we serve people online? And in other communities. So, we can talk a lot about community, aren't we? I know we can talk a lot about community. If you guys listening like really can't tell, our heart, why we are doing this is because we value community so much.
Because we had such a great community at our own LGS. 100%. At our own FL. It sounds so weird to throw flags. It sounds so weird to throw the F in there. I can't even say it.
Dude, it is. It's funny. It's too funny.
It was a great time,
It was. And there was a reason I came back. Like I came back many times.
Yeah, because you were saying you didn't show up like every single Friday because you couldn't. You had other stuff going on, but you'd come up whenever you could. And it was just always a good time.
It was. I mean, it was how I met you. It's how I met our guys in our commander group.
Our commander group. And the other commander group.
It was. I don't have one bad memory from that place. From the community standpoint.
Right. I was going to say, you sure, Dan? I could bring up one thing.
Yeah, from the community standpoint, I don't have really any bad memories, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing of why we think you should support your local game store is they provide you a place to play your favorite games. So hopefully they do. Right. Obviously, with 2020 going through COVID, I know there were a lot of LGSs that stopped in-person events and they closed down their play areas, and that's a personal business decision as to why some did or some did not. I do remember seeing on Twitter that there were plenty of shops that chose to open earlier than others, and people didn't agree with that. I mean, Twitter can be so toxic.
The internet is toxic, Dan.
100%, and that's one reason I don't like it. But it's also, I think, in order to be successful in this day and age, like, you have to embrace the internet and going online.
Whatever your opinion on anything is, someone will tell you
You're
it is wrong.
No. Not someone's gonna say you are wrong. You are wrong. Every opinion you've ever held,
If
you're
you think
wrong.
the Earth is round, there's a community out there for that.
Those are like some of the best communities to just be like, get on and just laugh. Like, if you want a good laugh. Oh, wait. Do you really? Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. No. Yeah,
If you think Gamestonks is not going to crash, there's a group of people out there.
So in talking about this, it actually, we could actually kind of dig even deeper into this. I know, Jim, you and I have both gone into plenty of local game stores.
Yeah, I've been to a couple.
We've been to quite a few, and it's always interesting whenever I walk into one.
Yeah.
The question that I first ask myself as I walk in is, okay, how do they have their shop set up? And looking at how they have it set up tells me a little bit about their priorities.
Right.
Like, what are they trying to accomplish here? Are they just trying to sell as much product as they want? Do they want to give their customers a place to play?
Yeah.
Why are they doing this? Like, why do they have this shop? So you've kind of got two big things here. I mean, yes, so the point here we're talking about is hopefully they provide you a place to play your favorite games, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, hopefully they do that. Like, do they actually provide that space?
Yeah.
Or are they just trying to sell you product, which is not in and of itself a bad thing. I mean, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But you've kind of got a conundrum, right? It's, you can either utilize your space to sell product, or you can utilize your space to play games and enjoy the community, right? Going back to the first point.
Yeah.
So hopefully your local game store provides you a place to play games. Most LGSs will have tables set up for people just to come and sit and play games.
And then there are some of those stores that don't really have people there or card selection to even play your game if you're rolling into a place solo. Because there are some card shops that are more specific in one game.
Yeah, that's true.
In comparison.
That's true.
So, like, sure, it could be your LGS and it has a great community, but, people there don't play, your specific game that you're looking for.
Yeah. So, you mentioned that. So yeah, it's you got to know. You do have to know your LGS, their environment. What do they support? Like, what games do they support? There are a lot of game stores that the only real card game they support is Magic. They don't do anything else. And you don't serve your other customers that don't play Magic. There are plenty of people. There are plenty of people that we both know that don't play Magic. They play Pokemon. They play Yu-Gi-Oh. They play Flesh and Blood.
They play D&D. They play whatever.
They play all these other things, but they don't play Magic. And if you're only selling Magic, you've just lost.
Many people,
customers. You lost customers. You have lost the chance to add these people to your community. Right?
And a lot of people just don't care about it either.
Don't care about what?
Like the owners, since they're not putting the money into those other games, they don't care about losing those specific people. And,
They're and again, it's interesting because you have to then talk to those people and say, okay, like, what's your goal? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And honestly, for those that don't support certain games, like they only support Magic, for example, it's not like they're like, well, we don't want to support all these other games. It's most of the time, it's like they've made a conscious business decision, and they're like, Well, honestly, the best thing for us financially is to only support Magic. And if we lose your business, oh, well, we don't really care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's the right answer.
Yep.
However, if you come to that conclusion, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I guess not my place to tell you you're wrong. That's your choice and your decision.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time, if you can give me a logical answer, I mean, you don't have to because nobody answers to me. It's still interesting though having those conversations and hearing about why owners or business people choose to make certain decisions. That's
right. Yeah, I mean, and there's so many different games out there. I understand that you can't provide every single game because we just named off a couple.
Yeah.
Right? There's also Dragon Ball Z. There's Digimon. There's Force of Will. There's people who still play Duel Masters or Kaijudo.
Hold the phone. Hold the phone.
Uh-oh. What's up, Dan?
Force of Will?
Yeah, it's still...
Don't you mean Force of Spill?
Am I right?
Boom!
Am I right? Yeah. So
I had to drop that.
Thanks for dropping that bomb on us. So, I mean, yeah, there's so many games out there, and I get that you cannot keep up with every single one of them.
And not only that, like
you have to know the people in your area.
That's the thing. Like you need to know your customer base. But I mean, we understand and we get that it's not feasible to have like 50 different games and support all of them to its maximum potential.
I've played almost like every mainstream card game out there or play them actively.
Right.
And it's so much to keep up with.
No, it is.
It is so much to keep up with.
I know it is. It's crazy. And we're just talking from a customer standpoint.
It's
one thing keeping up with stuff from a customer standpoint. It's a whole other beast to keep up with it from the standpoint of an owner.
Yeah, because then you look up like, all right, well, how are my people doing with the sealed product inside of this game?
Right.
And then it's like, all right, is the sealed product, does it have good value? Are people going to be wanting the new support that comes in this set? Or is it just one of those sets that people don't care about? Are the new starter decks good? Do I just pick up one display case of them? And it's just like, depending on the game. And for Yu-Gi-Oh, they come out with amazing starter decks for Yu-Gi-Oh, or structure decks is what they're called. Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh has some of the best starter decks or structure decks.
Do they do that like for every set? For every new set release?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll come out with a new archetype, and it'll just be like, some of them are fantastic. They came out with some recent ones with a deck called Salamangrate. It's all about fire cybernetic cards. And it's one of the best trial or structure decks that they've ever come out with. You get 3 of them, which is great for budget players. You get 3 of them. You get really good staple cards.
Oh, you get 3 copies of cards?
3,
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, so you get 3 copies of the structure deck. And then you build a deck with all those cards together.
Okay.
You take out the bad ones, you put in the really good ones.
Right.
And you can have a really good deck for like $30.
Okay.
So Yu-Gi-Oh has probably one of the best.
Okay.
Vanguard does a really good job too.
Yeah, and speaking of Vanguard, like Grapple was, well, I should say one person in Grapple was how I got started into playing Vanguard. I haven't played Vanguard in a long time.
I know.
But when I got introduced to it, it was fun.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that actually here in a little bit.
I tell people that like, sure, I might not play Vanguard or agree with some of the things that they've been doing lately, but that game is still the most fun I've ever had in TCGs. And I've been playing TCGs since, I guess I really got into them back in like 05, 07 range for Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
But that's when I really got into them. I was playing it in like grade school and whatnot, but...
Yeah, Vanguard was fun.
Vanguard is a blast.
Fun. It was interesting and confusing to learn at first.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have to relearn it, but it was fun. Like that was definitely a fun game to play. Yeah. Okay, so we talk about providing spaces to play, but also that these stores kind of need to know their customer base and player base and kind of support the games that they want to play. Yeah. Now, a lot of these local games or a lot of local game stores, they provide like game specific days, right? And what I mean by that is days like Friday Night Magic, FNM. Okay. Yeah. So like each day kind of is dedicated to a specific community within the community, like a sub community at the store.
Yeah,
Okay?
it's like different cliques.
Yeah, like so at Grapple, Fridays was all about Magic.
Yep.
Right. For the most part, everybody that came in was playing Magic. There were people who still came in and played Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, D&D.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was still space, and I think it's definitely important to always provide space for all of the players.
Yep.
Anyone that comes in always has a place to play. But as far as support goes, that's kind of what we're talking about here. So what other days, because you said previously, was Tuesday D&D night?
Tuesday was board game night.
Tuesday was board game night.
Yes.
Okay.
So you could come in, either bring your own board games, use the demos, sit down at someone else's table. There was quite a few people there on Tuesday just playing board games.
Yeah.
Wednesday was Adventure League for D&D. So that's the official Wizards of the Coast thing for D&D that you could take from like take from one store to another, and you could always have your same character.
Right.
You know, you level up, go into different storylines.
Okay.
Thursday we had Pathfinder. I think it was Pathfinder Society is what it was called.
Now Pathfinder is like D&D where it's an RPG, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Pathfinder is like D&D. So right now D&D is on 5th edition. They have 1st edition, which was the original,
Right.
2nd edition, 3rd edition, and then they came out with a 3.5 for D&D. And later on came out with 4th edition. A lot of people were upset with 4th edition. They really loved 3.5.
Okay.
And that's roughly when the time Pathfinder came out, was around the 4th edition mark. I don't know exactly when it was, but people call Pathfinder 3.75 D&D. It took what was great about 3.5 and changed up some things as well.
Now you're just talking like from the rules set, basically, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So rules, all the mechanics of the different classes.
It's a
and how
totally
that
different
works.
lore and mythos.
Yeah.
It's just the rules that were
exactly.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then now they're on fifth edition for D&D.
Okay.
But yeah, Thursday was Pathfinder. Friday was Friday Night Magic.
Right.
Saturday night was Yu-Gi-Oh! But then Saturday at like 1 o'clock, roughly around the time, it was Vanguard, which originally there was nothing going on.
Okay.
But then we built up a pretty good Vanguard group.
Community.
And that's when they were playing.
Vanguard community.
A really good Vanguard community.
Yeah, like honestly, like that's like honestly, it's like everything that we're talking about. Like honestly, it all comes back to the communities that are either created or like are just built in to the shop, to the stores. 100%, it's all community.
And I remember when I was big into Vanguard, we didn't have a Vanguard community. The one guy who worked there on Sunday, he was the only person I knew that worked there for Vanguard.
Gotcha.
And so, you know, I would go there every single Sunday, and then more people would trickle in. They'd learn Vanguard. We had like 4 or 5 people playing Vanguard. You know, it was a blast. And then eventually, you know, I kind of started dying down from Vanguard, and then boom, a Vanguard community's at the store. I'm like, great, you know. And so,
it's interesting how some of these communities are formed too, like at LGSs.
Yeah,
it is very interesting.
Yeah. And on Sunday, you pretty much did whatever.
Was it whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. And then so kind of going off of that that kind of subtopic here, but we talk about tournaments. Tournaments is another thing that we think, you know, local game stores, LGSs should be providing as well. It's kind of goes hand in hand within the same vein of like these quote unquote game specific days, right? And so obviously this all comes back to, as the business owner, you have to answer the question, okay, how do I adequately and properly monetize this, right?
Yeah.
So tournaments, easy, right? You've got a fee to enter, and then also your events, like these game specific days, like so Friday Night Magic basically was another tournament, right?
Yeah.
And so the question that you will always have to answer as a business owner is, how am I going to properly monetize these events or tournaments or whatever without making my customer base or community feel like I am just trying to squeeze as much money as I can out of them, right?
Right.
So it's always finding that line of how can I be providing adequate value while also not necessarily not feel like my customers that I'm pulling money out of them, but feel like we're making adequate value trades, basically, right? Of I'm giving you you're giving me money, but what I'm providing you in return is worth that investment, basically.
Yeah.
So that's always a line that the business owner has to answer. The question they always have to answer. Because if not, what are you doing? Like, seriously, as a business owner, what are you doing? Like, you're just giving away your livelihood, or what? Like, you have to answer that. And so that's the line and the dance that these business owners, honestly, I feel like, just have to answer on basically a day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Next thing, we've already kind of touched on this, but the next thing why we think you need to support your LGS, well, they provide a retail environment for you to further invest in your hobby, right? I mean, they do.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, that's where you go and buy the next board game that you want to play. That's where you go and buy the next set for Magic or whatever. That's where you should, okay? That's where you should.
We know you can find it cheaper somewhere else.
Maybe.
Most likely.
Most likely, right?
Really depending on this thing and whatnot.
Depending on the item, depending on where you're going. Could you buy it cheaper at Amazon? Maybe. You probably could.
But it's also, a lot of the times, that's not Amazon. That is a third-party person that is now putting it up there because, well, no one they know if they even have a store.
Correct.
No one's buying it. Well, then it's just like, all right, well, let me sell it at cost or something, you know?
Correct. And that's where the business owner needs to stay competitive. I mean, obviously, they have their overhead, right? That they have to take into account for, obviously, sure.
Yeah.
But again, that's another thing. I mean, brick and mortar stores nowadays are always competing with Amazon.
Yep.
Now, are they going to be able to compete with them? I think so. I mean, realistically, I mean that's a subjective discussion that you're going to have, right?
Yeah.
But that's what business owners have to always keep in the back of their mind. Every single owner of a brick and mortar store always now has the cloud of Amazon reeking over them and looking over them of, hey, guess what? I can sell it cheaper, right?
And for an LGS, it's a bit different because, like, there's a lot of stores out there where you can't test the thing inside the store, meet other people who are interested in the same thing. And it's just like, that's the thing that they have over everyone else.
Correct. LGSs have a distinct advantage in this space. 100% they have a distinct advantage. You buy it at your LGS, guess what? You can take it out of the packaging right then and there and play it, probably with somebody else in the shop. Hopefully the owner will sit down and play with you right then and there.
Are you like more likely to buy a game that you just see an ad for on Amazon or whatever website, or a game that you've never seen before and you're like, oh, this looks really cool. You know, you see the little pieces, the owner of the store or someone else at the store sits down and plays with you. You're like, I loved that game. Let me get it.
It reminds me of a couple of purchases that I've made in the past. Like, I've bought quite a few things on Amazon. But in talking about games, what happens when I get those games when I buy them from Amazon? Absolutely nothing. I get them, they come in, I look at it, it goes on my shelf, and then I wait until I have people over or I have friends, I have you over and say, hey, all right, I finally got this game, let's sit down and play it, right? Whereas if you have an LGS, you hopefully have a community already built there. Even if you're not a part of it, there hopefully is a community of people there. I do remember one time I went into Grapple with a family member, and I'm looking around looking for games to buy. and just seeing what's there, and I came across Boss Monster.
Okay.
And so I'm asking, I'm like, okay, what is
Like,
Boss?
I don't think I was working that
No,
day.
you were not working that day. But there were people playing. They
Yeah.
were sitting down. I'm pretty sure they were playing Commander.
Yeah.
And I remember who this person was. And I'm like, what is Boss Monster? And then one of them turns to me and then starts telling me about it. I'm like, oh, well, this sounds awesome. I'm going to buy this game. So I bought it, and then me and my friend came home and we played it.
Yeah.
So that is a huge advantage that LGSs have over any other retail space.
Oh, for sure.
And so and so like that's you already have that. Like any LGS has the opportunity and the potential to have that kind of what's what I'm looking for? That thing happen. So that can happen in any LGS.
Yeah.
Whereas, oh hey, I saw this thing on Amazon. Let me get it real quick.
Yeah,
Let me get it, and then I'm gonna come.
I
home
get it
and
in 2
play it.
days, and then I have no one that wants to play it.
Yeah.
And
Or like I have to
Whatever.
I have to play with my wife, and she can't because she's busy dealing with the kids or whatever the case may be.
or she's not into these kinds of games. And that's the other thing about like having a community at
Right.
your game store.
Right.
If you know a lot of the people there, you know what the games that they are interested
Right.
in, you know how they think, and you're just like, hey, I got this new game. You're going to love this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's sit down, let's play it, let's get some other people to play it, depending on how many players for the game minimum.
Right.
You know? And and then at that point, you then grow the community even more.
This conversation kind of dovetails into the next point, so I'm just going to say it right now, and that
Yeah.
we can keep this conversation going. But the next point is they introduce you, at least the good ones do, meaning
Yeah.
the good LGSs. They introduce you to new and upcoming games that may fit your interest.
Yeah.
So again, that dovetails perfectly. And again, we're talking about providing you a space to buy these games, right?
Yep.
So you've got a space to buy the games, but you also have to learn about what all these other games are.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, you just talk about furthering the community. I mean, honestly, again, this goes back to and speaks to furthering the community.
Yeah.
And
everything goes back to it.
It really does.
And how great it is for people.
Honestly, and it's honestly like when I made this list,
Yeah.
when we made this list, I didn't really think about honestly how it all just points back to
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
It's honestly crazy just going through this and talking about it.
The people you meet at these places, like I have best friends now for probably the rest of my life that
Mm-hmm.
I will always think about. You know, we will keep playing games, you know, even if they move or I move, whatever it is, like
Right.
we will always have these memories.
Right. Yeah, and it brings me back to our conversation with Michael, right? And he was talking about how he has his group of friends that he cultivated in college,
Yeah.
which is great. And I feel like that his experience with his group of friends,
Yeah.
who every time I talk to him about his friends, I mean, it seems like this is his group of friends is like for life. They're like a for life
Yeah.
group of friends,
Yeah.
and that's great, right? I feel like that's not the norm, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I mean,
for people,
that is difficult.
like it's
yeah.
but it's cool. Like I'm super happy for him, like that
Yeah.
he has that he cultivated that group.
Yeah.
But number one, that's not the norm. We feel like in our experiences.
That is really difficult to do.
Like, and it's like again, it's really cool. but like the LGS community and what we're trying to build, 100%. Like this is where those types of friendships and those types of relationships, a lot of them are formed.
Yeah.
Now he formed it at college, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same type of community because he's talking about D&D and their interests basically all revolve around our interest and what you kind of typically find at an LGS. But a lot of those relationships are formed through LGSs.
Yeah.
Like all of our relationships that we're talking about have all been formed from the standpoint from an LGS. Like the point zero was an LGS.
Yeah. The thing I wanted to add as well, so going off of like Michael's group of 4 people, right? We have our group of 4 people that we play Commander with, right?
For sure.
But I don't think, our Commander group would just be down to play like any game.
Oh, they would be.
Well,
Wait.
partially because so outside of Magic, so if we were just like, oh, hey, let's play this board game, rather than playing Magic,
Okay.
I'm fairly certain we would all just, I guess that's more preference based at
Yeah,
that point,
right,
But
right.
I don't know. I guess I've never been put in the situation
No,
of
yeah,
being
that's
like,
true.
hey
That's
guys,
true.
yeah, let's group up and play this random game
Right,
that like
right. And-
two or three of you
right,
have no clue
Right.
about.
And
it.
honestly, because when we group up and we get together, it's specifically
Yes,
to play
it's
Commander.
for Magic,
It's
yeah.
for Magic. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we've never tested the waters there.
We haven't, honestly, because it's like most of the time because we're just so excited to play Commander.
Yeah.
Because we love Commander.
Because I mean, yeah, we're only playing like once a month or something.
We don't
lines.
play it all that often, but we're excited when we're able to.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So I mean, take that for what it is. I guess.
Golos player and what do we want to say for the other one? What does he play?
Narset, Narset, and Yuriko.
Yeah. Oh man, the Yuriko list is dirty.
Oh my word! I hate you, Yuriko. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I do have that.
I hate you, Coma.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
I would ask what deck of mine you hate, but it's just all of them, Dan.
I mean, you just answered the question for me.
Yeah, it's all of them.
That's fine. All right. So, anyway, no, but again, I really do kind of want to really hammer this home of everything that we talked about, that we continue to talk about. It's crazy. It's crazy to me how everything just points back to providing it just community.
Yeah.
It's really like this. That was unintentional. I swear it was unintentional.
The good thing about it is that like we understand what is like essentially the number one thing for us in terms of what we're looking for and stuff, right? And since it always goes back to community, it's like, all right, well, we're playing games with random people. We're now getting not even life experiences, memories from playing these random games, laughing, shouting, Dan, getting angry, whatever the memory is.
What do you got to say it like that?
Nothing. We'll talk later. And so
We're
whatever
talking about my YouTube videos.
so whatever. bleep.
Let's not talk about that, okay? Let's not talk about that.
So yeah, whatever it is, like we understand that for us, community is the number one thing as to what keeps pulling us back to the LGS.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
these games in general.
Yeah, and I was telling you this conversation I was having earlier, and like the question was asked, how are you going to be different? Like this question was directed at me, and it was framed in a way of asking me, how is the business that you are going to be building?
Yeah.
Right. How is it going to be different from everything else?
Yeah.
And that's something you always have to answer, and that's something you always have to think about when you're an entrepreneur or a business person in general, right?
Right.
And again, really, it's coming back to what we've just talked about. Everything comes back to and points back to community.
Yeah.
And that's something that we both, and I'm hoping our audience can honestly, truly see that we fully believe in.
Yeah.
And it's really something that we think sets us, I think it sets us apart.
Right.
Right. Because again, even when we talk about the products versus a place to play,
Yeah.
like what's more important, like I'm always erring on the side of community, right? And in that topic, it would be like a place to play, because again, we're talking about the community, right?
Yeah.
So it's just it's interesting to see in this conversation. I really feel like it's seeing that in action, because it's crazy to me that how it's showing itself, right? It to me in this conversation, it's really, really showing itself to be evident in this conversation.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, lastly, I think is probably a good place to end this list of why you should support your LGS.
So I know that we talked about how important the community was.
Sure.
But this is, I guess you could say, the most important.
Oh, this point here?
Yeah, this point.
Yeah, they need your support.
Yeah.
So, well, why do they need your support? Well, okay, like any small business, basically, if they don't have people walking through their doors, you're going to go out of business.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So again, we've talked quite a bit already in this conversation about it's up to these business owners to figure out how they can survive. Number one, right?
Yeah.
How are they going to properly and adequately monetize people walking through their door, right? You have to think about more than sales. You got to think about more than selling product. How else can you monetize people? Okay, let me rephrase that because that just sounds you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what I mean, but saying it like that just sounds dirty. You know what I mean? And it really does. Like, I love capitalism, but saying it like that just sounds heartless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, but you really do, like, business owners have to think about that. And so honestly, they need your support. I know I've told you this. I've told this to you. But as a business owner, okay, you have to think about your bottom line. You have to think about your overhead. You have these costs.
Right.
You also have to think about your customer, okay?
Yeah.
Are you going to charge $150 for a box of Magic cards?
I guess it depends on the box.
A standard booster. A standard booster box.
No.
Okay. I was ready to buy multiple boxes of booster boxes.
Yeah.
Okay. However, when I was told the price of said booster was between $140 to $150, I immediately went, okay, I was about ready to buy 3. I'm gonna buy 1. I'll buy 1.
Yeah.
That was crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because again, now at that point, I don't know if you could buy Magic products on Amazon. I think this was before that.
I think it was just like roughly around the start.
A start of.
So I guess I don't know exactly when you did it, but yeah, I think it's been a few years
War
now
of the Spark.
since.
It was War of the Spark.
Okay.
So this was before. It was before then.
Okay.
War of the Spark was before they were officially selling, or might have been right around.
I think it was around
it was right around that time.
Yeah.
It was right around that time. Yeah, it was definitely right around that time.
So what Wizards started to do was directly sell sealed product on Amazon.
Yep.
And that's what we're talking about right now.
So also, I think also around that time was they decided they weren't going to have MSRPs on their boxes. So they were leaving it up to LGSs and distributors to name their prices.
Yeah.
So, and normally I don't think distributors were really changing their prices. I don't
really.
think. It was mostly coming from the end places like LGSs and big box retail stores.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it was just like, all right, how much did we buy it for? And and I think they raised the price of boxes over the last like 6 or 7 years twice, from what I remember.
Yeah.
And so, but once they got rid of the MSRP, it was just like, all right, well, I'm spending $70 on a box. What do I want my profit margin to be?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's interesting. As I'm talking about this, I'm looking at what I wrote down. And the first thing I wrote down here is that this topic could quickly turn into why some LGSs fail while others succeed.
Yeah.
That topic honestly could be its own episode.
Some fail because their lease was up,
and they chose not to renew the lease.
Because the owner just wants to, get out of it.
Which is, I mean,
that's a very
that
valid
happens.
thing.
Like 100%.
It happens.
100% that
happens March 21st. It happened.
Yeah, and we don't say that to like make light of
Yeah.
certain decisions, because honestly, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you got to realize and understand that these business owners, they're people too, and like they have to make decisions for themselves and their family, and you don't know what's going on in their lives. You don't know why they're making certain decisions.
Yep.
They may want to move, or they may want to make some decision for their family. Like that's. And honestly, you never know what the full story is. You don't. You honestly don't.
Yeah.
Even when we speculate, you don't know what the whole situation is.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I hope you take I hope you take some things that we say here with a grain of salt. As like if we're speculating, like it's honestly most 99% of the time it's from a place of love and good-heartedness. But anyway, that is something. It still is something that you also kind of got to keep in mind, though. So, I mean, in order for shops to be successful, I mean, yes, they need your support, right? But you have to want to support them.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, like I went into that transaction.
Yeah.
Honestly, with the thought in my mind of I want to support you. I want to give you my money.
Mm-hmm.
I want to support you and give you my money. Mm-hmm. But when you're telling me that the box is going to cost that much, now I'm less likely to support you because I feel like you're ripping me off.
Yeah. And don't get us wrong. We're not telling you to go support these stores that you don't even like the people or they do shady things. Who knows what it is?
Correct.
And we're not saying like still support them because they need it. It's just no, if you don't think that you want to put your money there, don't put your money there.
If you don't think you're valued as a customer or a member of the community, then don't support them.
Yeah.
As what we're suggesting is, as a general rule, we think that you should support your local game store. Now, if they deserve it, basically. There should be that caveat.
Do they show you that they are deserving of it?
Yeah. Do they show you that they value you as a member of their community? Yep. If they do, then you definitely should support them.
Or even not so much just yourself, but like you see that they're good with other people. And it's like, sure, you might not come here a lot, but you know that they are still good people.
Correct. 100%. So dovetailing off of that, I say dovetailing twice. Interesting. I've never really said it that much. That's weird. Anyway, so we think
DuckTales.
Woo. DuckTales. Woo.
Oh man, we just ducktailed into something crazy.
It was a great show. Apparently it's still a thing and they like rebooted it.
Oh wow.
Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. It's
got a great theme song. I ain't gonna lie.
Unless they changed it. Who knows if they did?
I don't know.
I hope not.
Oh man.
Anyway, so what I was gonna say was we think. Well, at least I think. I'm interested to hear what you think about this. But I think in order for LGSs to be successful in today's business environment, especially within this hobby space,
okay.
I think part of their business model needs to involve some sort of content creation and things outside of just selling product.
All right, so we're talking about a brand new store you're talking about.
I'm just talking about LGSs in general.
Oh, in general?
I'm just talking about LGSs in general.
I mean, if your store, let's say in a 20-mile radius, is the store to go to for a specific game, and that's like the only game you care about, you could still make it.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Like if you have
that's the thing.
You have a lot of people coming into tournaments and you're doing those tournaments the entire weekend because you don't have to worry about let's say Magic. Let's say you do Magic. You don't have to worry about Yu-Gi-Oh! You don't have to worry about Vanguard or however many population shows up. Say you got like 3 people or 6 people who come in for a Vanguard tournament, or let's say 8. All right. Does that compete with the 20 some, let's say 30 people who will come in for another Magic tournament the next day?
Well, it depends on it depends on how you're charging. It depends on a lot of things. But like 30 people doesn't sound like a lot. That's not a
I'm
lot.
talking about in comparison to the 6 for Vanguard. So let's say
Yeah.
30 people
No, yeah,
come in
that's
for
true.
Magic in
That's
comparison to
true.
the 6. Which is more likely? And not to mention, the people are there to be competitive for Magic.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those people who are competitive in their games, they will dump money into it left and right.
Well, let me ask you this then. Okay. So let me play devil's advocate here in that scenario. How are you growing that community? Word of mouth? Is that it?
I mean, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean word of mouth, but word of mouth can only get you so far.
I mean, if you are
Word of mouth is, I mean, don't get me wrong, word of mouth is important.
I mean, all right. So let's not just say word of mouth. Like, so when we were talking about online content, I think of what we're doing. Podcast, we did YouTube in the past, Twitch things maybe, or is it just posting on social medias and advertising?
So, I mean, content creation is different from online advertising.
Okay.
So, social media is more online advertising.
So social media things, I think, does that also count as word of mouth a little bit, maybe?
Well, no, that's advertising. I
Okay.
mean, word of mouth is strictly person to person.
Okay. So then, yeah, it would be more than that. It would also
Yeah.
be online advertising.
Yeah.
And if you're the
And that's
only
a-
store that is specifically for that
Yeah.
game, or those other places just can't compete because the amount of card selection you have for that game is through the roof, and
Right.
like no one even comes close
Right.
to you, you are the store to go to for that.
Right. It's getting that out there so
Yeah.
people know that.
Yeah.
Because 100% you have to do more than just word of mouth.
and
you
that's-
can't just rely on word of mouth, I think.
Right.
So
Yeah,
so
no.
let me you say that, which you make a good point.
Mm-hmm.
So let me back up then. And let me kind of rephrase this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because you do make a very good point. So I would say then, given what you just said, okay? So I'm going to reframe it, and then I'll say it like this. In order for game shops to be successful in today's business environment, okay, part of their business model should involve content creation as well as online advertising, online media and online advertising. Now, and with the caveat, okay, of saying there's a difference between just posting on social media
Yeah.
as an ad and doing it well. Anybody can post on social media.
Right. Of course.
Right. So you make a good point. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm just trying to say is you have to do more than just rely on word of mouth.
And this goes into like not even just LGSs. Like you can be a person who's good at a wide variety of things, and you'll have your use somewhere, right?
Right, yeah.
And you'll have to do different things to like get you out there and whatnot. But if you have someone that is an expert in a very specific thing,
Yeah.
they're going to do well as well.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
I mean,
you're right.
obviously,
You're
depending
right.
on what it is.
No, you're
But-
right. You're
Yeah.
right. I mean, that's just like everything in life.
Exactly.
Like if you're an expert in something,
Yeah.
then
You have a place.
it's better. I mean, it's better to be an expert in one thing than just mediocre in
Yeah.
multiple
Yeah.
things. So yeah, no, I
Being
get
the
what you're
best in
saying.
one thing beats a jack of all
No,
trades.
right. Well, yeah. I mean, I get it. No, I get what
Yeah.
you're saying, and you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. And it's tailoring that to a business environment.
Yeah.
That again, we talk about business owners have to figure out how to basically answer that question for themselves, kind of as an owner. Okay. So now, didn't you mention that you had some kind of story?
Yeah, it happened today. So I was at one of the game stores, relatively close, and I overheard a story about one guy came walking into the store, and I already know that this store doesn't really supply Magic a whole lot. Okay. So they come in, they're like, "Oh, do you happen to have Magic singles? I remember you guys having them. What happened?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, just people aren't selling cards, and majority of our group is for Commander. So a lot of the times they don't really sell cards, and if they're not selling cards and we're not cracking packs for people because we
Right.
don't really have the the environment or the community for like standard or Pioneer or whatever format it is outside of Commander.
Right.
There's no reason for them to do that.
Right.
So, and then the guy proceeded, he's like, but what's wrong? Like, Magic is the best game out there. It's great. And so, and so one of this wasn't the owner, but some other person that he was talking about. He's just like, Magic sucks. and he's like, it's a terrible game. I'm just like, holy cow. I mean, I was laughing, Dale, when I heard this story. I even told the guy as I heard this, I'm like, dude, I'm a Magic player, and that was hilarious. So as you can see, there was no community for Magic at the store.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was something else. And
was it a kid who said Magic is awesome?
I was thinking he was probably like teenager. I didn't know the exact age because the guy was just telling a story as to what happened.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you weren't. Okay,
yeah,
so
I wasn't
just heard
there.
The story. Okay.
Yeah. He was.
So
telling
you heard it
story.
You heard it secondhand.
Exactly, because the guy who was telling it to was like thinking about getting into Magic, and so they were just talking a little bit. And
that's
that was
hilarious.
So good.
Oh my word! That's
so as you guys can see, there was no community for Magic. There wasn't a place for that store to provide that person's favorite game.
Correct.
Did they provide retail environment to further invest?
Nope. Not in Magic.
Did they introduce you to a new and upcoming games that you may be interested in? No, they just said your game sucked. Magic sucks. So
Magic sucks.
Magic sucks.
Oh, dude, that's funny.
Oh man, that story was great.
Oh, wait. Lastly, dude, they needed your support.
They need your support, guys.
Oh, dude. That's too funny.
Oh man. So as you can assume, that guy who walked in talking about Magic probably didn't support that store. I don't know if they did.
Oh my word, that's funny.
Oh man, yeah, that was was something else,
dude. That was funny. All right, well that just about wraps up this episode of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast. All right, so yeah, that's all we got for you this week. Tune in next week. Don't know what we'll talk about next week, but I'm sure it's gonna be a fun conversation, guys. So thanks for checking us out on episode 7, and we'll see you guys.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. All right.
Oh man.
All right, take care.
Just remember, Magic sucks.